how important is it from your perspective as the England coach that you have that growing level of opposition on your doorstep?
I think, just like Jodie said, when you've got a sport that we're starting to see flourish, as we are doing in the girls' game at the moment, the thing that really entices people in and sells the sport is international rugby league. And it's a big seller for us. And to have Wales getting better, to provide that domestic competition is vital. And hence we've played Wales over the last few years to make sure that we can keep helping Wales progress as well. Now they've got in the World Cup, I'm very confident, even though Tom's got a really strong squad that's achieved what it's achieved, that he'll attract other players now to come and join that squad as well because of the power of a World Cup and an international selection there. So that will again make them stronger, hopefully, for England opposition as we go forward.
Does it? I don't want to put this in a way that makes it sound like you would do this, but it has been a case in the past that some players have played for the Welsh men and then progressed to play for the England side. Is that something that you would look to avoid doing in the future?
Yeah, for me, it's important that you stay with your respective nations that you choose to play for, and hopefully we'll have enough strength in depth in every position, like we discussed earlier, to always have a very strong England squad going forward. And I think it's my responsibility and my job to enhance Wales by helping and not taking away from that.
The Orange game last weekend, how important was that for you to put the squad together this week, and how can that be built upon perhaps to be a more of an event going forward?
And I think it does need to become an event going forward. It was something that last year we played Wales in November, and obviously the season had finished for the girls in October at the grand final. And for those that had got knocked out earlier, even earlier than that, so they hadn't played rugby league for 4 or 5 weeks, and we wanted to go into an international. So we devised of mixing the squads, the seniors and knights, training together, and then having a modified game like that, so they had the intensity back in them before we played international. So then when we selected the 2 squads right at the beginning of this year, we factored that in our programming, and we said we'll do the same again because we got a lot out of it. And now it attracted a crowd on Saturday, which, and a lot of interest. So it shows that there is room there for an event to become part of this, which we probably didn't think would be possible last year. It was more an internal thing for us. But I think we will play an Origin at the end of this year now, which will look more like an Origin should do, with selections for both sides, etc. And people who are not in the current EPU squads may be invited into that on form.
I'm going to ask Jodie the same question in a moment, but I'm interested because in Australia, obviously, they play slightly different rules in terms of time and such. Would you prefer our Super League to play 70-minute games rather than 80?
Is this one for me?
Well, it's for Stuart first, and then you can disagree with him.
Oh, me first, sorry.
sorry, yeah.
This is just a personal opinion, but for me, I think the way our players have now developed as athletes, I think they cope really well with 80 minutes. If you'd have asked me this 4 years ago, when I first got involved in the women's game, I might have suggested 70 minutes was a good starting point. But I think where we're at now, I think our athletes cope very, very well with 80 minutes. And I won't put words in Jodie's mouth. She might have a different opinion, but I think if you tried to change the game over here from 80 back down to 70, I don't think it'll go down too well.
But that's been the case whenever I've asked any female players, Jodie. So I'm assuming you're going to agree with that as well.
Yeah, I feel actually really strongly on this one. Look, I'm all for changing the game to allow the athletes to perform and showcase the best of what they've got. So if you ask me that question around, does the size of the ball need looking at? Potentially a 4 or 4.5 ball, because that, if you're looking at the biology of the women, the average hand size is much less. Are you much more likely then to see a Leah Burke scoring a one-handed try dive in the corner if you then adapt the size of the ball to be better fit for the women? Yes, that's not about being patronising or we're not capable. It's actually just changing a rule which actually was all designed around men. The size of the ball is designed around men. 70 minutes from 80, I don't think is anything around what we're capable of or allowing us to showcase the best we can be. Like Stu said, I think the athletic development across the game's been fantastic over recent years. I think Sean Scantbury at England has to take a lot of credit for that. I think what he did with the England squad over a period of time, and then that's translated into clubs taking it on a lot more seriously. I think there is no reason behind dropping to 70. I don't think anyone can convince me otherwise. It would feel patronising, and I think unless you're doing it for the good of the game to showcase something better, or there's another logistical reason why it will therefore benefit the growth of the game, then yeah, that one I'm dead against, and I think someone would struggle to convince me otherwise on that one.
I knew that would be the answer. There's a stupid thing is, you were at Wembley, obviously you're a bit closer to the action than I was, but you look at the pitch between the men's final and the women's final, and there's a lot more space when the women are playing because you're all a lot smaller. But you can't change the size of the pitch. That's impractical. You can't have a different pitch size. But the ball is something that you'd be in favour of changing and would be a positive for the women's game going forward.
Yeah, I'd definitely be open to looking to explore that. I think I've had lots of conversations when I've been involved in the girls' game at school finals and in the community game. And a lot of the time when they're playing with smaller balls than their respective lads' age group, they see that as a negative. Also, when we bring the pitch in tighter than what we do, while they play with less numbers, they see it as a negative. Actually, the reason those rules are in place are so that the girls get to touch the ball more. Actually, they have to learn to defend better because the spacings are smaller. They're all adapted to allow the girls to be the best they can be, because actually we're starting in a way from scratch with the girls and women's game in terms of how do we create the best opportunity for them to be the best they can be. I think the size of the ball is one the girls always then pull up that, well, the lads are playing with a size 5. I know they probably shouldn't be because they're 13, 14 years old and they don't have big hands at this point either. So yeah, for me, I think it's one that I think as long as you communicate why it's happening and the girls and the women and whatever age group it changes for, understand why, that actually it's to allow them to be the best they can be, to allow them to get to the point where they're showcasing these incredible tries that we know they'd be capable of. It's just, there's a hindrance in it and it's difficult at the minute. I think it can only be a benefit. It'd have to, like I say, it has to just be rolled out in the right way with the right education. But for me, I think it would help us to showcase our game in the best it can be, and then that's only going to be a positive.
Just on the ball size, we made a significant change to the under-16s girls competition by changing to a size 4 only 3 years ago, and I got shot down for that quite strongly. I went and presented at both the Northwest and the Yorkshire juniors meetings, and but the skill level now of the under-16s competition has grown exponentially. One, because of the quality of the athletes and the coaching they get in the community clubs, but significantly because of the ball size. They can show what skills they've got because they can handle the ball better. So it's something that I think probably could be looked at the senior level. And I know the Australians are very keen. They don't like playing with a size 5 either in the women's NRL. So it's I think we could experiment and then see where we sit with it, and then make a decision on the back of that.
And likely, if people like me, they won't realise the ball's smaller anyway, because I didn't realise the wheelchair ball was smaller till I had one in my hand. So
we did a dice session the other week, which was our 18s to 16s, and we didn't tell them we made all the balls size 4, and they didn't know until after they'd done the whole training session. We were like, your training was really good today, skill was really good. Oh, by the way, they were size 4 balls, and they went, oh, were they? So we had no labelling on them or anything, and they didn't even know. It was just a little experiment.
Finally, Jodie, from the World Cup a couple of years ago to now, where do you see the England side has improved and going forward to that next World Cup?
I know we've mentioned it a couple of times now, but I do just think the strength in depth is something that's now starting to come to fruition, and that's not something that's happened overnight. All the work and development from various people at all different levels takes time for the number of girls that are starting to play to then develop, to come through, to start going into open age, the quality of the coaching that's now in place and those structures to actually have the effect. And I think that's what we've got now is strength in depth. I think for many years, I'd probably count the last World Cup and anything prior, that you would be panicking if a couple of players got injured, because, the substitute into that would probably be quite a big drop off. So you're so reliant on a core group of people to get you to a World Cup and then perform when you get there. I think we're now in a position that pretty much anybody is replaceable, and that's not a negative, that's a positive. We've got some phenomenal athletes, but the next one in line is just as good and he's just as hungry and eager to go. So yeah, I think that's our positive now. And I think off the back of that drives all the right standards and behaviours that you want, because you're not gonna be able to drop your standards, drop your form, drop your commitment to on-field or off-field standards and get away with it, because you just won't get picked. The next player will do. So that's our secret weapon now, that I think over the next couple of years is going to drive us to hopefully our first World Cup final and World Cup win, because look, we want it more than ever. We've got the talent now. You can see potential in some. There's people who are already there, but you can just see in some of them, wow, how good can they be with a couple of years? And look, we're lucky that we're a few years out. All the right things are in place. We've got the right people in the right places to do the best we can in a couple of years' time. And let's just have fun now when we play. I think, going out to France, we've got some young girls in that squad, and I've messaged a couple of them and just said, enjoy it. Enjoy your first camp. You've been selected based on what you've done, so don't do anything different. Just see what happens, because it's not going to be the finished article. Nobody is. But especially not on your first camp. All you've got to do is do whatever got you there, and we'll all support you around it and build off the back of it. We'll learn loads off this. The players will be loads better for the experience. And then next year, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are stepping the game up to make sure that they get an Ashes tour, because that's pretty special. There's not many. It's never happened in my playing career. We've never done an Ashes tour. Obviously, we've done World Cups, but never in between World Cups have we played Australia. So for me, it's massive. For all the girls, it is. And yeah, we just need to make sure we take advantage of the time we've got now to be the best we can be.